Hi, I'm Mike, owner of the In-Groove in Phoenix, Arizona. Today I'm doing the new arrival video for April 16th, 2021. So this is a massive amount of stuff coming in this week and a ton of audiophile restocks. So huge restock from Mobile Fidelity, Analog Productions. I'll have a huge restock from Speaker's Corner and Sam Records next week as well, including the Billy Harper pre-orders. They'll all get filled next week as well. There was a little bit of delay getting them out of France, but there's a lot of great restocks coming, especially on that Speaker's Corner palette. So I'm going to start with the pre-orders. I put up this week Art Blakey Witch Doctor and Curtis Amy Cantaga. These are tome poets, both tome poets. They come out June 4th. Also, Prince announced the new album. So essentially, this was an album that was recorded, scheduled to come out in 2010. It was shelved, never released. It is Welcome to America. There's a 2 LP set, and there's like a multi-box set, super deluxe deal that's CDs, vinyl, you know, the works. You'll notice the website is a little bit different. So the pre-orders now no longer populate on the front page. The pre-orders are all on the very top. If you look, there's like Shop Now, you know, and you click Shop, there'll be a little tab that'll say pre-orders up there. The way the website works now is you've got my top 100 in-print analog records you should own list on the very top, and then below that, you've got the newest things added to the store. These are new items completely. So if an item gets restocked, it is not added to that specific part of the website. These are only brand new items. So you can kind of keep track of the newest stuff that we're receiving into the store, a lot of which is right here. If you want to be notified of restocks, and I highly suggest this, the website now has a restock notification feature. So the minute I click receive on a purchase order here at the store level, if you subscribe to that restock notification, essentially what that is you go onto the website, you click on the item you want, say it's the Mobile Fidelity Kinda Blue. You click on notify me, you can either put your email or your telephone number in there, and as soon as I receive it into the store, you'll get an email. So I'll know how it works here momentarily. I've got a lot of people I know because I could see how many people are on the list. I'm going to have a lot of people I've noticed looking for the Mobile Fidelity stuff from this week's arrival list. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting thing to find out. So I'm going to start with this, Nirvana's Nevermind. This is a record that I've wanted to add to the top 100 in-print analog records you should own list for quite some time. The reason I have it, and the reason the list doesn't actually have 100 titles on it, is I could tell you guys 100 in-print analog records you should own, but if 70 of those titles are not currently available, it's going to drive up the prices. It's going to make things ridiculously hard to get. The purpose of this list is to tell you guys about records that are fantastic sounding, that don't cost an arm and a leg. There's a ton of great records that are, you know, Santana, One Step Abraxas. I could tell you how great it is, but you know, it's $2,000. What's the point in that? The point of this list is the killer stuff that's in print that you can get for reasonable amounts of money. That's kind of why I waited. So the cool thing about this is originally Bernie Grundman did a recut of this for ORG. I talk about ORG on the channel a lot. That is an all analog cut. He did this and he did a couple of other titles. I think he did In Utero, and I think he also did the NTV album. This was all cut from the original analog master tape. The ORG is out of print. It goes for well over $100 now. This is, for all intents and purposes, the ORG cut. If you look, when you crack this open, you look at the dead wax, you're actually going to see ORG scratched out of the dead wax and Bernie Grundman's initials on it. This is the same cut for a fifth of the price. Well worth owning, and you know, probably one of the greatest albums of all time. It's definitely on the top 10 list. So, fantastic, era-defining record. Mobile Fidelity restocks. Miles Davis, Miles Smiles. These are all going to be limit 1. It is now out of print. What you see is what I have, and what I have is it. No more of these exist. They did 4,000 of these. This is the end. 45 RPM. There's a Speaker's Corner version of that, though, that is available at 33 RPM. Love Forever Changes restock. This is in print. If you don't get it now, it's coming back again. Hall & Oates Rockin' Soul. This is a 33 RPM. Didn't get many of those. Mobile Fidelity did a killer job on these. These are awesome bargains. The first two titles they did, they're on the Silver Series label, which essentially means they weren't using the direct analog master tape. It could have been a second generation master, second generation safety tape, something along those lines. But the self-titled and Wild Planet, their second album, both sound absolutely killer. They're great sounding records. Back in stock. I don't know if this is going to continue in print for much longer, if it is even in print at the moment. And the reason I say that is there's a generic version of it, and actually I got it here. There is a non-Mobile Fidelity version that just came out. And let me tell you what, I wouldn't risk for the extra $3 you're going to save on this. I wouldn't risk it. $24.99, this is the one to own for sure. Like, I'm 90% sure that's got to be a digital cut. Simon & Garfunkel, Parsley, Sage, Rosemary, and Thyme, Mobile Fidelity. This is not a limited number, so this is back in stock. And if it sells out, it will be back in stock before long. This is the big one of the week. iRobot on my top 10 in-print analog and rock records you should own. This was a video I did on YouTube almost about a year ago now. Time for an updating. Also from my top 10 in-print analog jazz records you should own is Art Blakey's Indestructible. All analog, cut by Kevin Gray. This is part of their 80th anniversary reissue series. Absolutely unbelievable. They're fantastic. They're all analog. The sound's killer. They're all pressed in Germany. For the most part, you're essentially getting a Tone Poet or a Music Matters title in a real generic jacket. But, that's to save the money. It's $10 cheaper than a Tone Poet. This puts extremely high-quality analog records in print for, on the lower end of the spectrum of what vinyl costs in 2021. Restock, Lee Morgan's Cornbread, Tone Poet, Restock. Another Tone Poet Restock. Andrew Hill's Blackfire. All the Tone Poets are great. Here's a good one. This is on my top 10 in-print analog records you should own list. Wayne Shorter's Etc. This was actually part of the inaugural series. It was this and a Chick Corea title. The first two Tone Poets to ever come out. I know you guys have been waiting for this one. Ariana Grande. Positions. This is on clear vinyl. I'm assuming this is an indie exclusive, although I'm not 100% sure. Maybe they're all on clear vinyl. Great early experimental album, Laurie Anderson's Big Science. This is on red vinyl, and according to that hype sticker, this is the time, and this is the record of the time. Okay. Yeah. Pat Metheny, Road to the Sun. Okay, we got Grand Funk live. So there's two versions of this, although they look exactly the same. They're by Friday Music. One is on clear red vinyl, which is identified by the barcode, and then the other one is on standard vinyl. One of the greatest movie soundtracks of all time. Back to the Future. Pretty much a Huey Lewis in the News album. By far and away his best. Fantastic movie too. Who doesn't love Back to the Future? This is actually really cool. The vinyl design on this. This is on like a splattered swirl wax. This looks absolutely fantastic. This is the soundtrack to Star Trek's Discovery. This is season 2. Music by Jeff Russo. So this is the Interstellar splatter vinyl version, gatefold with printed inner sleeves. Really cool design. Another swirl vinyl. This is a red swirl vinyl. Ozzy Osbourne's Blizzard of Oz. Let's see. Mastered by Ryan Smith at Sterling Sound. I'm sure it's digital, but man, Ryan does one hell of a job. You notice he does actually a lot of the stuff for analog productions. So I'm sure the sound on that is good, regardless of what it is. Peter Murphy. Should the world? What is that? Should the world fail to fall apart? My new price tags only have part of the title on there. This is the new and current B-52's pressing from Warner. A little cheaper than the Mobile Fidelity, But like I said, get the mobile Fidelity. Joji, Nectar. A lot of stuff this week. This is actually cool. So this is standard non-gatefold pressing, but it's actually in a clear plastic slip over to kind of protect the gatefold jacket. Okay, this is Tom Petty's Finding Wildflowers. This is the indie exclusive vinyl on gold vinyl. Essentially, and I told you guys before, an indie exclusive is a variation of a record. In this case, the standard vinyl is black. The indie exclusive is gold. But you can only purchase this from independent brick and mortar record stores. So this is essentially disc 8 and 9 of the box set. So when this album was released, the new recent reissue, disc 1, 2, and 3 was essentially the standard album version. Then they did a 7 and a 9 LP indie exclusive box set. So the 9 LP edition, which was again only available to indie stores, had these two albums in it, albeit on black vinyl. So what they've done is they've essentially opened up that tail end of the box set, disc 8 and 9, to everybody. But the indie exclusive version of it is gold vinyl. The Offspring indie retail exclusive. Speaking of indie retail exclusives, orange crushed colored vinyl. Killer cover. Let the bad times roll. Not as killer of a name. Indie exclusive orange crush vinyl. Okay, so now we're rolling out some more def tones. So this is the White Pony. This is the 2 LP limited edition with exclusive lithographs. Cheaper than they did a pretty all-out box set first. Now they're doing, this is essentially 4 LPs. It's 2 double LPs, and you can kind of see them there. But they're kind of rolling out the cheaper versions after the big box set. I'm sure we'll get a standard album before long. Keith Jarrett, Budapest concert on ECM. Made in Germany. This is going to be a hot title. Norah Jones, Till We Meet Again. This is a live 2-disc concert. It's got, you know, don't know why. It's got her hits, but it's also got, she does a cover of Black Hole Sun on this, which should be quite good. But yeah, new release from Blue Note. Norah Jones live. What do we got here? This is an Ennio Morricone soundtrack. Original artwork design was featuring 7 unreleased pieces and 2 tracks released on vinyl for the first time. I Malamundo, you know. Yeah, I'm sure I butchered that. Let's see, restored and remastered from the original analog or original master tape. Don't know if that's analog or they took the original master tapes as source, digitized them, and cleaned them up. But yeah, never seen that movie. Although I've heard many of his soundtracks, I've seen very few of his movies that they were written for. Godspeed You Black Emperor. This is, 95 to 97. They're kind of maybe fat. Yeah, no clue. There's some obscenities in that title, so they've blocked them out. Pretty, I mean, this is one hell of a cover. It comes in this generic bag, but it's got this like silver inking on the back. It's like a linen cover, kind of like the first Joy Division album. Postcard looks like it's glued onto the front. Really cool packaging, for sure. Oh God, the hotly anticipated Robin Thicke, On Earth and in Heaven. This is on Empire. Let's see, Lucky Day. Featuring Roll Some Mo, Late Night, Shoulda, featuring Babyface. You guys know how hip I am when it comes to hip-hop records, which I'm assuming this is, but I could totally be wrong. All right, UFO, reissue of Strangers in the Night. This is a limited edition clear vinyl 2020 remaster. Feels like it's a double. Another Peter Murphy title, Love Hysteria. There was a few more of these that were ordered. I don't think all of them came in, but they're doing kind of a reissue on his catalog. This was a record store day. Maybe this was Black Friday exclusive, but this was the last year. This was a record store day title, Tones on Sale. Madlib, Sound Ancestors. So this is kind of the new arrivals. It looks like on the back is all the Analog Productions restocks. Granddaddy. Ace Frehley, Greatest Hits Live. Double disc. Scott Pilgrim versus the World. I believe this is a colored exclusive. You check the website out. Maybe orange or something of that nature. Double disc. Also from Mobile Fidelity, and I didn't show this at the beginning, we got a restock of Monk's Dream SACD. You know, this is a good one to get. 1994. It's limited to 3,000, so it's not a forever title. Okay, this is actually new from Analog Productions. Fantastic vocal album. If your female vocal's your thing, you're going to definitely be familiar with this. This is the Holly Cole Trio. Or actually, this might just be straight Holly Cole. Yeah, Temptation. This is the 45 RPM box set. This is, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4 discs cut at 45 RPM. Analog Productions does a lot of these box sets. They always seem to go out of stock immediately, and because of the complexity involved in the time making a box set like this, they don't get restocked quickly. You know, it's a lot easier to make 4 separate titles, restock them, than one box set with 4 records in it. So now would be your chance to get this. Holly Cole's Temptation. You know, they did Hugh Masekela, Hope, haven't seen it in forever. They did the Royal Ballet, haven't seen it forever. So, new Holly Cole's Temptation. This is a phenomenal female vocal sampler. So this kind of takes the bulk of what they've had in print, Analog Productions, the label. This is the bulk of what they've had in print on vinyl for probably about 10 years, kind of a sampling. So a lot of these titles were recently in print or currently in print, but this kind of gives you an idea of, you know, some of their albums, what they're going to sound like, and also, you know, kind of cuts out a lot of the filler. You know, you've got Julie London, Ella Fitzgerald, Phoebe Snow, Dusty Springfield, Holly Cole's on there, Janice Ian, Patricia Barber, Nina Simone, Jennifer Warnes, Diana Krall, Joan Baez. So I recommend, there's 3 in this series. There's the wonderful sounds of female vocals, male vocals, and Christmas. Christmas album is actually my favorite. But yeah, this is really good as well. Restock on the 45 RPM version of the Beach Boys Surfer Girl. Restock of Billie Holiday's All or Nothing. This is a double disc 45 RPM. This is a title that I have not had in a very, very long time. This has been out of print. Julie London's Julie Is Her Name. Great record. There's a version 2. I think this is a better record. This is an iconic record. You know, they even used the first, you know, there's a lot of variations of this. This is actually the first back with the script writing, you know, they used for the artwork on this. But yeah, great, great track list. Sonny Boy Williamson. Keep to Ourselves. Back in print. So the 45 RPM version of this is on the top 100 in-print analog records you should own. This is the 33 RPM version of Muddy Waters Folk Singer. Fantastic sounding record. Cowboy Junkies, the Trinity Sessions. The last of the Doors titles that I've seen. You know, they've kind of repressed all of them. The Soft Parade was the last to get the repressed treatment, but here it is, the Doors Soft Parade. All these Doors titles are absolute must-own. It's amazing they've been in print as long as they have. I wouldn't sleep on these, though, guys, any longer. I mean, yeah, these are definitive. I would say, you know, LA Woman is on the top 10 in print analog records you should own. All of these sound better. they sound exceptionally better once you get past the first two albums, which were kind of mediocrely recorded to begin with. But when you get past Strange Days, man, the sound quality on them is absolutely fantastic. Okay, this is an album that has been out of stock for 2-3 years, maybe? An extremely long time. John Lee Hooker. It Serves You Right to Suffer. This was a $200 album a couple of months ago until this thing got reprinted. This is absolutely a fantastic album. Extremely hard to find a clean original. Musically, sonically, this is a killer album. This is a must-own. And there's a lot of stuff. Look at this. Back in stock from my top 10 imprint analog records you should own. Rock Records. Elvis Presley's 24 Karat Hits. Fantastic sounding record. Everybody that's gotten this, tried this out from me, has been very, very happy. It is an unbelievably good sounding record. So I do a lot of, podcasts. I talk about records all the time. Every time I talk about a system update, there's always a few records that I use to demonstrate to myself what the gear modifications sounded like. And I'll go over them again. Norah Jones' Come Away With Me by Analog Productions. Dave Brubeck's 45 RPM version of Time Out. Take 5 specifically. And the third title that's always in the mix, Roger Waters' Amused to Death. This is an absolutely, positively, unbelievably great sounding record, extremely dynamic. Roger likes to blow things up on vinyl, meaning he likes loud explosions on his records, and this is no exception. So I went to a local hi-fi dealer here a couple weeks back. I went to test some of their gear out. They had the new Wilson XPXs, $329,000 with a couple Thor's Hammer subwoofers. Told them specifically, I want you to, hook a turntable up for me. I want to hear some of my records. Of course, I brought these records. I was just testing out different gear, getting an idea of some of the new stuff and what it sounds like. But what do they pull out? Roger Waters' Amused to Death. This is a record that I actually recommended to them some odd years back, and they're still demoing that record on $1 million systems. It sounds absolutely fantastic. A must-own for sure. Duke Ellington, the 45 RPM version of Masterpieces, one of the earliest recorded jazz LPs, on the long player format, really, really early. And a restock of Leonard Skinner's Second Helping. All right, guys. So like I said before, get on the restock notifications. You'll know immediately the minute I put things in stock. At this point, it's the absolute best way to be kept up to date. Check out our Instagram. I put updates on there as well. Instagram, Facebook. Until next time.